The PM will give his first major speech today where he'll set out his agenda at the National Press Club, much of which he might feel he now has a mandate for, considering the size of his election win. Joining us live, Labor MP Daniel Molino, Liberal Senator Jonathon Duniam. Good morning to you, gents. So Matt Canavan was on the show a little earlier. He wants to see progress on productivity as part of the PM's speech today, which is a 10-year plus problem here. Jonathon, to you first. What do you want to hear from the PM today?
Well, I think productivity is a very good place to start. I mean, I've seen the reporting about what the PM intends to talk about there, and sort of big government seems to be the flavour of the day, and government can fill the holes that are created there. But the cost of doing business in this country when it comes to energy, the cost of labour, which he dismisses, and of course the uncertainty around the investment environment are three key things he could address, and it all goes to then productivity, which means more employment, higher wages. Those sorts of things would be something I'd want to hear from him, not how government is the answer to every problem. But I fear, given this is a Labor Prime Minister who has been given a big mandate, he's going to ignore everything everyone else says, including the business community. It'll all be about big government today.
Daniel, how do you address a problem like productivity, which is confusing to a lot of people and hard to measure?
Well, thanks for having me on this morning. And look, productivity is, I believe, a long-run phenomenon. And so we need to put in place policy settings that will see investment flourish in the long run and investment go to the right destinations in our economy in the long run. We also need to put in place settings that see our economy invest in human capital, which is, of course, one of the key determinants of productivity. And so if you look at our agenda over the last 3 years, the skills agenda has been particularly ambitious with fee-free TAFE, with people going into apprenticeships, key sectors of the economy, and that's going to be built on this term. And if you look at the investment climate, the clean energy transition is a really key part of productivity in the long run. We need to get our economy transitioning to energy sources that are sustainable in the long run and that ultimately will prove to be cheaper.
Are you of the same opinion that Jim Chalmers is, that you'd need 2 terms to address all of that in a proper way?
Well, look, I think a lot of the productivity turnaround has already started in the previous term. But as I said, I think productivity is a long-run phenomenon. And I agree with you that it's not all that easy to measure. If we go back to previous governments, so if you look at a lot of the big reforms in the Hawke-Keating days when they opened up the economy, when they floated the dollar, when they introduced tariff reforms, a lot of the productivity gain came a few years down the track as the economy adjusted. So you often see a bit of a delay before reforms work their way through the system. So I think a lot of the things that I touched on, like the skills agenda and the clean energy transition, are already well underway. And I suspect what the Prime Minister is going to touch on in today's speech is building further on that, particularly in light of things that we took to the election.
Well, on clean energy, and obviously there's a strong debate happening right now, Jonathon, on net zero. Dan Tehan in The Australian today kicking the can down the road on your official position. In no rush, he says, on net zero. What's the hold-up?
Well, look, I wouldn't describe it as a hold-up. I think that we probably need to all come together in one place and have a good, long, hard conversation about this. As has been publicly ventilated, there are a range of views.
Yeah.
I've put mine on the record, and this idea that you pursue net zero at any cost and forget about any of the economic impacts of pursuing net zero as a standalone proposition, I think is harmful. So we will absolutely have a position on this.
So
and I'll tell you what, it'll be
problem,
one that's very clear, one bold, before the next
coalition.
election.
But therein lies the problem moving forward. I mean, you've got various flanks who want different things.
Well, I think the strength of the coalition is, in fact, the reality around us being able to have those different views and come to an agreement. I think while, you know, it's always great to have unanimity, I don't think that is a strong position, and you don't have strength of character or conviction when you just blindly fall in behind the leader, which is what the Labor Party does. People are not permitted to speak. We have a far more robust process, and as a result we'll have a stronger position, and one that will be clearly enunciated before the next election.
Well, you do have time. Time is on your side for sure, but 3 years moves quickly. Daniel, have you got the Green support for the super tax yet?
Well, look, just on the climate change issue, clearly investment, the build-up of investment is critical in this area. And if the opposition still can't get a solid position on whether they even support net zero, that's not going to support the investment in long-term projects at all. But look, in terms of the Greens, with McKim having been appointed the shadow spokesperson for Treasury, I would expect that the Treasurer would reach out to him and have productive conversations very soon and before Parliament returns.
Are you going to budge on any of their conditions?
Well, I'm sure you can imagine I don't want to preempt any of those discussions here on live TV, but I would expect that we would work constructively with the Greens on a very sensible and modest measure.
Go ahead, Daniel. I'm happy for you too. No? No. OK. Why don't you respond, Jonathan, to that point?
Look, I think this is a measure which the Greens have supported in principle. It's a very sensible measure that is fair.
You're not going to budge, really. I mean, you're not going to budge,
expect
really. Because there's 3 million's the threshold. It's not going to be indexed. They want the opposite of that, but I mean, it's your position, and I would have thought that you'd just get it.
Well, look, as I said, I think there will be discussions between the Treasurer and the Greens starting shortly, and I would expect those discussions to be
all right. So let's just finish off, Jonathan. Just that point that Daniel made about business needing certainty, your official position on net zero. Does he have a point there?
Well, just on this, of course the Greens are going to do a deal with the Labor Party. I mean, they're natural bedfellows. And, of course, McKim and Jim Chalmers will be having a cup of tea sometime this week to talk out the details. They were never genuine about discussions with us. They shut the door pretty quickly on that. And you want investor certainty. This is the same government who said no to a gold mine over some spurious Indigenous heritage story. So I don't think they really are walking the talk when it comes to investor certainty.
But on net zero, do you need to make your position known so business knows what you would plan to do if you were to somehow be successful in 3 years' time?
Somehow. Look, yes, we do. Absolutely we do. We need to be clear. We need to be coherent. That's what Australians deserve. It's what business demanded. They're not going to invest if we're not actually speaking clearly about where we'll go and how and what it will mean for the economy. So yes, we have to. That's the one thing I'll commit to doing, making sure we have a very clear and united position on this.
All right, yeah, say somehow, because there is quite a gap for you guys to overturn. We've got to leave it there, gents. Good to talk to you though. Chat again soon.